All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive challenge for small and medium-sized businesses. How in the world do you keep up with technology's crazy pace without totally blowing your budget? Well, we're going to dive into a pretty smart partnership model that lets you scale up your IT muscle, but not your payroll. So, let's get into it. So, let me just ask you something. Does it ever feel like your IT team is just constantly putting out fires? Trying to juggle the day-to-day stuff, the big strategic projects, and all the sudden emergencies that pop up? If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then you're in exactly the right place. And look, the first thing you need to know is you are definitely not alone. That feeling of being stretched thin, of being overwhelmed, it's super common for businesses trying to grow in this complex digital world. It's really just a sign that the old way of handling IT isn't cutting it anymore. And it all comes down to what we call the modern SMB squeeze. I mean, just look at this list. You've got cyber threats getting more sophisticated every single day. There's the constant pressure to integrate new cloud services. You've got all these pressing compliance rules you have to follow. And all of that is falling on a small team that's probably heading straight for burnout. And on top of it all, they're supposed to be innovating, right? It's a perfect storm. But what if there was a totally different way to look at this? A way to actually turn all that pressure into a strategic advantage? Well, that's where this idea of co-managed IT comes into play. And I want to be clear, this isn't just about outsourcing. It's about building a really powerful partnership. So what is it exactly? Well, co-managed IT is basically a model where your in-house team joins forces with an outside expert, what we call a managed service provider, or MSP. The key words here are collaborative and augmented. You're not replacing your team, you're giving them superpowers. You're adding specialized skills and extra resources right when they need the most. And here's how that partnership really plays out in the real world. Your internal team, the folks who know your business, your culture, your people, they get to focus on strategy and the core projects that move your business forward. And in the meantime, your MSP partner comes in to handle all the specialized heavy lifting. We're talking advanced cybersecurity, complex cloud migrations, 24/7 monitoring. It really is the best of both worlds. Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory. But what does it actually look like when the rubber meets the road? What are the real, measurable results? Let's take a look at how this model turns those everyday IT headaches into actual, tangible wins for your performance. This quote from the source material just nails it. Think about all those nagging, recurring IT problems you deal with, the random downtime, the security scares, the slow response times. The whole point of co-management is to build systems that turn those painful moments into smooth, predictable, successful outcomes. In other words, repeatable wins. All right, let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. First up, security. Businesses that use a co-managed model see up to a 40% faster response to security incidents. And in a security crisis, that speed can literally be the difference between a small hiccup and a complete disaster. Next up, let's talk about the bottom line, your budget. The data shows companies can see a 10 to 12% drop in their overall IT spending. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. You're paying for specialized expertise only when you need it, instead of adding another full-time salary to your fixed payroll costs. And finally, reliability. A 25% reduction in unplanned downtime. That's huge. Because your MSP partner is proactively monitoring things, they can often spot and fix problems before they ever have a chance to impact your business. And that just means more productivity and, happier customers. And the great thing is, this model works pretty much everywhere. In healthcare, it's helping hospitals lock down patient data and stay HIPAA compliant. In finance, it helped a bank speed up its move to the cloud by 30%. Over in manufacturing, it slashed downtime by helping manage a super complex network of IoT devices. The results speak for themselves across the board. Okay, so you've seen the results. The next logical question is, all right, how do I actually do this? Let's walk through the playbook, the step-by-step guide for building this kind of powerful partnership. It really boils down to these 5 essential steps. First, you have to do an honest assessment of your team's strengths and, more importantly, its gaps. Second, you have to select the right MSP, someone who gets your industry. Third, and this is absolutely critical, you have to clearly define everyone's roles so there's zero confusion. Fourth, get your tools aligned so everyone can communicate seamlessly. And finally, you gotta have a system to monitor and adapt because let's face it, your business needs are always going to change. And as you're going through this setup, there's one area you absolutely cannot afford to forget, and that's compliance. Whether you're dealing with GDPR for data in Europe, CCPA in California, or HIPAA in healthcare, your MSP partner has to be an expert in the rules that govern your industry. This is a total non-negotiable. All right, we've covered the why and we've covered the how. Now it's time to talk about putting all this knowledge into practice. So, what's your next move? Here's your immediate action plan. First, really evaluate your team's skill gaps. Where do you need the most help? Then, start researching and vetting potential MSPs. Make sure you find ones that have proven experience in your specific field. When you find a good fit, draft a crystal clear service level agreement, that's your SLA, that spells out all the expectations. And finally, set up a rock-solid communication plan right from day one. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question to really think about. Go back to that powerful idea we talked about. What's that one recurring, nagging IT pain point in your business right now that with the right strategic partner, you could finally flip into a consistent, repeatable win?